Good afternoon, Alan Vandenberg here, coming to you from Mount Olympus here in Utah. I'm taking a little road trip, actually a little business trip this week, and another episode of EQ for you, episode number 35. Today's episode is Circle of Control. We're operating off of the idea that 75% of a person's person or team success is not their IQ. If you've not done so, you can pick up a copy of my book, EQ Killed the Radio Star, How Emotional Intelligence Can Crush or Crash Your Organization. My publisher said the best time to launch a book is during a pandemic. That is not true at all. But you can pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or AlanVandenberg.com. All right, we started a segment a few episodes ago called EQ IQ Music Row, where we discuss artists in my record, CD, tape, although I don't have any tape, or audio file collection I have, and I have a big one, from the lens of an EQ IQ perspective. So when I was in grade school, my very first album I ever purchased was this album I'm going to talk about today. I actually didn't have enough money to actually purchase the album, so I co-purchased it with my friend Kenny down the street, and we made a deal that every other weekend we would have Kiss album visitation. So my first album that I ever bought as a kid was this album right here, Kiss Alive 1. Most people have heard of Kiss, but I will tell you, as a grade school kid, seeing this band, they looked like superheroes. They breathed fire, they had pyrotechnic stage show, and they made my mom cringe. It was perfect for me as a grade school kid. So Kiss's first album came out in 1974, and after 3 albums, their record label Casablanca almost went bankrupt. In 1996, they released Kiss Alive 1, which launched the band into fame and fortune and saved the disco Casablanca record label. Within 3 years of Kiss Alive, drugs, alcohol, and egos, and a host of other EQ issues saw the departure of 2 original members of the band. And even though there have been some reunion tours here and there in the 90s, the band had turmoil on and off ever since. And it was so bad, and this is really disappointing for me, that in 2014, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And there was so much ego and drama going on, they didn't even play at the awards show. So that was to me, that was kind of, oh, come on, seriously? So for incredible creativity and impact on my life, from an IQ perspective, they're actually pretty good players. Kiss gets a 5. But for their ridiculous ego and grade school behaviors, not being able to play at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was ridiculous. They get a 3 on the EQ rating. So there you go. Hopefully that was fun. So today's episode, Circle of Control, that's where we're going to go to. So do you feel like things in your life right now are just overwhelming? Like you don't have any control over events or your time or your life or behaviors of others? Chapter 10 in my book, EQ Killed the Radio Star, we talk about this tool called the Circle of Positive Impact. Stephen Covey, in the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is the first time I ever really kind of heard something like that. He calls it circle of influence, what you have control over. A few weeks ago, I received a text from a friend of mine, her name is Jamie, with a photo. It was a model called Circle of Control. Jamie was preparing for her school year, and in that planning, she was planning on teaching this EQ skill to her 3rd grade class, Circle of Control, to 3rd graders. The worksheet is very simple, but very powerful for a 3rd grader. I would say even very powerful for adults as well. See, back in the day, my friend Jamie and I were co-workers, and we would spend 2 hours every other week teaching EQ skills, including Circle of Control, to every new employee that joined the company. The feedback that we received in almost every single session from new employees was so positive, and they were so hopeful how it impacted their life. That's what they would tell us all the time, is how much EQ and things like Circle of Control impacted their life. So what is Circle of Control, Circle of Influence, or Circle of Positive Intent, whichever one you want to use? Basically, the foundation is based on the principle that 85% of the things that we spend our time and energy working about, we have no control over. 85% of the things that we spend our time, energy worrying about, we have no control over. Is this true for you? Let's try this. Take out your phone and in the Notes app, list the items that you're currently worried about. Money, family, your job, your kids, the current work project, your house, bills, and who could forget, COVID. By each area, rate 1 to 5 how much of your day you actually worry about this particular area. So if you rate it a 5, that means you worry about a lot. If you rate it a 1, that means it shouldn't even been on the list, right? So I love this for the third grade. I love the third grade version of this. It's so simple. It looks like a dinner plate, and I'm actually going to show this to you on the screen. It looks like a dinner plate. On the outside of the plate, it has the question that says, what I cannot control. On the inside of the plate, it's a very powerful statement. It says, what I can control. Think about a list for a third grader. What I can control. Will my classmates like me? How much homework am I going to have? Will my teacher like me? Will I like my teacher? Will I be able to get the good grades that I need? Take these third grade worries and think about this from an adult perspective. It's very much the same conversation. Will my coworkers like me? Will my boss like me? Am I going to have a good work-life balance at my job? Will I like my boss? Will I be successful at work? What do we do with this concerns list? If you get back to your phone and the notes that you've written down, you have a list and you've rated them. The time you spend worried about each item, it's time to ask the question, what is the one thing that I can do that would reduce the amount of time and energy that I worry about this area? Again, you've rated it for a 5 for a reason, so you do worry about it. So what is the one thing that I can do that would reduce the amount of time and energy that I worry about this area? So for instance, money. Well, one thing you could do is open up a separate emergency fund that auto deposits some amount of money into that account every week or every month. Your job, schedule a meeting with your boss and ask this feedback question. So boss, how am I doing? Here's a great question to ask your boss. What is one thing I could do that would help me improve in my job? Wow. I don't know how you could be concerned after you would ask these kind of questions. So if it's about your family, how long's it been? I know it's been a crazy time, but when's the last time you scheduled an activity with your family? It doesn't have to be necessarily a really big vacation, but a road trip or going to the park or taking a walk or riding the bikes. What is the one thing that you can do to reduce your worry? So we walk into each day with a certain amount of energy, and worrying about things that we have no control over is absolutely draining energy for all of us. So move it. Move your worry to something that's more powerful, and that's things that you can do to control and reduce the amount of worry and energy that you spend in your life. All right. Hopefully that was helpful for you. I will leave you with these 3 things that I always talk about is find what you are made to do in life and do that to the best of your ability. Don't allow anyone or anything to steal your joy and your happiness. And number 3, live life every day because nothing is guaranteed. All right, have a great day. Talk to you soon. See ya.